Hello, welcome back to my channel. In this episode I'll be discussing The Reef, an Australian horror film made in 2010 by writer-director Andrew Traucki, who had previously given us Black Water. This film stars Damian Walshe-Howling as Luke, Gyton Grantley as Matt, Adrienne Pickering as Susie, Zoe Naylor as Kate, and Kieran Darcy-Smith as Warren, and there will be spoilers, so you've been warned. This movie is essentially painting by numbers, and I don't mean that as a criticism. In painting by numbers, an original artist has created the work, sure enough, but colouring it all in correctly and effectively still requires a very deft hand with a brush if you want to achieve an impressive result. Director Andrew Traucki has proved that he has a very deft brush hand. Yes, his strokes are merely repeating the work of the true artist Steven Spielberg, but he is still a very talented imitator. Traucki's film is tense, taut, tingly and toothy, and all alliteration aside, it's actually a genuinely scary and nerve-jangling movie, helped, like Spielberg's earlier masterpiece, by a truly terrifying orchestral score. The music for The Reef by Raphael Marr is every bit as perfect a fit as John Williams' ostinato in Jaws, and though some people may feel inclined to draw comparisons between the two soundtracks, they'd actually be hard-pressed to find any genuine crossover. In fact, the music for The Reef is more reminiscent of the music from Ice Road Truckers, with a little bit of The Abyss thrown in for shits and giggles. The film, made for a mere $3.8 million, was only released in about 30 screens in Australia and went straight to DVD in the UK, which is a shame because I feel that the film was good enough to have had a much more serious theatrical release. It was certainly very popular with those audiences who did see it, and it scored very highly with the critics too. The film's biggest success is that the sharks are all real, filmed in the wild and then composited into the frame with the actors using essentially the same techniques that Traucki employed in Black Water, essentially doing it himself on his laptop, guerrilla style. Here, Traucki discovered that the underwater shots came with their own built-in blue screen, the ocean, and he achieved some truly impressive and realistic results. So the shark behaviour in this film is 100% authentic, and like Spielberg before him, Traucki wisely doesn't overexpose his monster. He understands that the scariest things are those which we can't see. Nothing is more terrifying than peering into the depths and seeing nothing, because we know that something is there. As with all stories of this type, there is a delicate balance to be struck in the first act. The audience wants to see people being stalked right away. They're in a hurry for things to get started. But even if they don't realise it consciously, they won't be properly scared if they're not invested in the characters. So you need to spend a bit of time setting things up, but not so much time that it tries the audience's patience. Unless you're Steven Spielberg, in which case your setting up in Act 1 is so riveting that the audience forgets to be impatient. But for the most part, Traucki seems to have found the sweet spot. He takes a little bit longer with The Reef than he did with Black Water, and I think it pays off, because by the time our soon-to-be shark bait are bobbing up and down in the water, we've grown sufficiently attached to at least one or two of them that we care whether they get eaten or not, and that's what makes us bite our nails and feel our pulses quicken. There are 3 or 4 good jump scares in this movie, and they provide a welcome hit of adrenaline at key moments. But the best and most successful aspects of the film are the tense, silent, bobbing up and down, looking around and waiting moments. Those are the things that really raise your blood pressure and make your palms go clammy. So, as is standard in the genre, our pretty young rosy-cheeked Australians get picked off one by one, and each attack is artfully filmed and edited. Personally, I found the acting to be a little uneven, and as the third act headed towards the final 3 minutes, I was increasingly irritated by the shrill screaming of the last surviving female, and, like in Black Water previously, I found myself rooting for the monster and hoping that in the final shot the shark would jump out of the water and swallow Zoe Naylor and her voice box whole. Sadly, she lived to scream another day. But apart from the last few minutes, I consider this to be a superior horror movie. It's certainly, in my opinion, the second best shark movie ever made, the first one being Sharknado, of course. I'm kidding! And on that note, I think I'll call it a day. Thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and I will see you next time. See you later.